Hi, my name is Minh-Tri, and this is my journal article presentation for biotech. So the journal article that I chose is entitled Consequences of Tiger Parenting, a Cross-Cultural Study of Maternal Psychological Control and Children's Cortisol Stress Response. These are the names of the listed authors and presented by me. The goal of the experiment was to determine whether or not Eastern style of parenting, also known as tiger parenting, truly caused irregular or increased rates of mental stress on the child. The data gathered from the extensive research determined that children parented through the Eastern style had higher levels of cortisol, a stress hormone, compared to their American counterparts. Background information. Cortisol is a naturally occurring hormone in the body that is linked with stress, and it deals with the certain parts of the brain to control your mood, motivation, and fear. High levels of cortisol can lead to fatigue, depression, increased blood pressure, and other harmful symptoms. Tiger-style parenting main principles revolve around the family/group rather than the individual, such as in American style. It is thought of as being very strict and harsh on the child, even at a very young age. The tiger-style parenting method is usually linked with the eastern hemisphere of the world, particularly the people of Asia. The experiment. So the setup was to induce and to measure the stress of the child. Participants were placed through a screening process that would eliminate any participants who had any underlying conditions such as asthma that would affect their cortisol levels. The passing participants would then be placed into a room where the main objective was to win a game, and at the end it would receive a prize. So at first, the experimenter would go inside with the child and demo the game and show them how it is played. But during this trial, the game was played on no lose mode, where it was impossible to lose no matter what you did. So after the demo was over and the child knew that the game was winnable, the experimenter left the room and the child was left to play the game by themselves alone. But the thing was, the game was left on no win mode, where it was impossible to win. And every time they lost, a loud buzzer sound effect would be played and a frowny face would be put on the screen. And after 60 seconds of the game reading game over in a loud audio, the experimenter would then go into the room and ask the child whether they won or not, and when the child would say no, they would show visible disappointment and concern. And the stress of the child was then measured through salivary samples, first being right when they landed at the facility, second 30 minutes after a short peace period right before the challenge, and then other samples were collected every 10 minutes after the experiment was over, and at the 75 and 90-minute mark after the challenge. This is a screenshot of the methods on the article, and the participants were recruited from suburban areas of Beijing, China, and a suburban town in Midwestern United States. And the participants included 30 boys and 30 girls from China, and 26 boys and 32 girls from the US. And all children were from middle-class families. Results. These are the results and the data collected through the experiment, but the main getaway from all of this is that in every single field, the Chinese or children parented through the tiger style had more cortisol levels and more cortisol rates compared to their American counterparts, as seen here. And table 2 just shows all the variables taken into account when predicting the children's cortisol levels. So my recommendations in closing. What this means for us. The traditional Eastern style of bringing up a child may be a great method for creating a well-educated and intelligent individual, but may not be the best in terms of the individual's mental well-being. Why did I choose this topic? I chose this topic due to the fact that I was brought up through tiger style parenting, and I know many of my other friends who were also brought up this way. And I was always intrigued on this topic and wanted to learn more and how it affects the children's mental state. So things I wondered after the fact: is there a way to determine scientifically whether Eastern or Western styles of parenting are more proficient at developing a more successful individual? What in history led to Eastern culture carrying so heavily on the family as a group, whereas Western cultures tend to worry more about the individual? And finally, does having high levels of cortisol as a child have any long-term effects as a child progresses? Thank you for listening to my presentation. Goodbye.